Hi, my name is Renee Rizzo. This will be a teacher facing video which will guide you through my adaptation of a small portion of Living Environment, Unit 7, Day 16, Introduction to Cultural Evolution, which I have elected to break down into several smaller parts to accommodate the unique learning needs of students in alternate assessment settings. I will be creating several videos based on this one lesson because there is that much rich content embedded within it. So for this particular video, I am going to introduce you to how I would teach the topic living environment, cultural evolution when we tamed fire. The focus question from this lesson, which I chose to use from the original lesson in the Teach Hub. What is cultural evolution? And what are some of the ways that culture has evolved in humans? So, I always, when teaching technical subjects that may be challenging for our students, I like to introduce them to the vocabulary that they will need in order to be able to understand the content of the lesson. So, the vocabulary that I chose to introduce for this lesson is cultural evolution, which is how way of life changes over time. So I ask the students to think about it. How do you define culture? What do you think about when you hear that word? It's good to go over this as a topic of conversation because different people define culture in different ways. I would maybe chart student responses to this question to see how everyone in your class defines culture before getting further into this lesson. When you are done with that activity, you can tell the students that for the purpose of this lesson, this is how we are going to define culture. Culture is the usual social behaviors in human societies. It includes language, beliefs, food, habits, music, art, the way families interact with each other, the way other people interact with each other, and how people make decisions individually or in groups. So you can also chart what students think after they hear the definition of culture for this lesson. You could talk about what social behaviors do humans have? What language do we speak? Or what different languages are spoken around the world? What do people eat? What do they like to do? What music and art do they enjoy? So this is another good hook to the lesson to get students to really understand what we are talking about today. So the original lesson about cultural evolution includes several YouTube videos about different topics under the umbrella of cultural evolution. For this specific lesson, I chose to just focus on when we tamed fire. The original lesson also calls for the teacher to break students up into groups to work on the different videos. But I suggest, due to the unique learning challenges of students in alternate assessment settings, that as a whole class, you work on this all together. So students can really be exposed to all of the content. So, what is the main advantage of cooking? This is a question based on what students would have learned in the video. And the choices I provided were A, it breaks down food, making it easier to chew and digest. B, it makes food smell better. And or C, it makes food less appetizing to other animals, so we have more food to ourselves. So while B might be true that it makes food smell better, this is not discussed in the video. And the most important thing for human survival would be that A, it breaks down food, making it easier to chew and digest. So, why else is it important to cook food? A, because it looks better. B, because it tastes better. Or C, because it makes us less likely to acquire pathogens and disease. So, just like I said in the previous question, while A and B might be true that cooking makes food look better and taste better, the most important component for survival and the thing that is discussed in the video is C, because it makes us less likely to acquire pathogens and disease. So, next question. Why did fire encourage our ancestors to move to colder climates? A, because fire could provide them light. B, because fire could provide them heat. Or C, because fire was beautiful to look at. And while it is true that fire would provide light, the most important and relevant answer to this question is B, because fire could provide them heat. That allowed people to move to colder places. So, for hominins who did not use fire, how do we suspect they kept warm? And this was specifically discussed in the video. A, through clothes and shelter, as well as migration. B, through advanced oil based home heating systems. And C, through electric blankets. So, when going through these answers, you can obviously have the discussion with students that B, advanced oil based home heating systems would obviously have not been invented yet at this time. We're talking about many, many years ago in human evolution. See through electric blankets. So you can talk about how, of course, electricity was not discovered yet. So it's not likely that anyone at this time would have been using electric blankets. So the correct answer here is through clothes and shelter as well as migration. So, to conclude this lesson, I would discuss with your class and maybe chart these answers. What did you learn in this lesson about cultural evolution in humans? And of course, these answers should be tied back to when we tamed fire, because this is what we talked about in this lesson. We did not go into other aspects of cultural evolution. So, just to review, this was a teacher facing video which guided you through my adaptation of a small portion of Living Environment Unit 7, Day 16, Introduction to Cultural Evolution, which I have elected to break down into several smaller parts to accommodate the unique learning needs of students in alternate assessment settings. Thank you for watching.